The shocking truth of why celebrities are going MGTOW. Hi everybody, and welcome to One Mail. I want to talk to you about the men going their own way movement. You've probably heard much about it lately, but is it getting popular? How famous is this concept now? In this video, I will break it down for you and explain why more and more people are choosing this lifestyle, and yes, especially celebrities. What if a celebrity, such as Ed Sheeran, Dave Grohl, or Jay-Z, came forth and declared that they were members of the MGTOW? Consider how unlikely this will happen and the consequences of doing so. It would be the same as multiplying Louis Marco by 1,000. Do you believe there will be a genuine shift, or do you think the mainstream media, government, and public relations will respond quickly enough to distort and undercut the message before any significant harm to the status quo can occur? What if a well-known male star declared his intention to take his career path? There are two possible sociological explanations for the Midtown frenzy, including using celebrities' authority as a source of social proof. The power that comes with fame is one example of how celebrities significantly influence society. Approximately 100 notable actors, actresses, and singers routinely attract the public's attention. The future's attention will shift from macro celebrities and musicians to micro celebrities and musicians. This transition will become increasingly common as time passes. Do you recall when there were just 12 channels on television, and then suddenly there were 50 or 60? There are practically thousands of stations to pick from in the 21st century. The same thing is happening to celebrities' power due to social media. Rather than a few hundred well-known celebrities, services like YouTube spawn thousands of micro-celebrities that appeal to a much smaller audience. However, just because they appeal to a smaller audience does not imply that they are less well-known or popular among those who follow them. Even though I am aware that George Clooney is not a member of MGTOW, I believe that everyone thought he would join for at least a short while. Let me return to the idea of the truly famous guys going their own way. I believe Jim Carrey, who is also from Toronto, Canada, is one celebrity who has steadily moved in that direction over the last 3 decades. Jim Carrey is one of the well-known people who has followed in their footsteps. What fascinates me about Jim Carrey is that he was married for 8 years, then divorced, then married Lauren Holly for less than a year, and then after that divorce, he was briefly engaged to Renee Zellweger. All of these occurrences fascinate me. Unfortunately for him, he was also able to break free from that bond. Have you seen any recent Renee Zellweger photographs? You will not be able to recognize her. Following that, Carrey had a 5-year romance with Jenny McCarthy. Even though they never married, he is less committed to women after each relationship than he was. It appears that the more he is committed to other people, the less eager he is to put himself in potentially harmful situations with new women. The Stupid and Dumber actor went on Howard Stone's show on Tuesday morning when the discussion quickly turned to love and relationships. I'm going to quote a few paragraphs from an article titled "Jim Carrey Has No Interest in Getting Married Ever Again," which was written a few months ago. Here are some thoughts from the article. When asked if he would consider getting married again after his first marriage ended in divorce, Carrey replied, "I simply don't see it as necessary at this time." When Stone was asked whether the wonderful, and by perfect, I mean perfect, female who came along with the 52-year-old celebrity ever considered putting a ring on it, Stern voiced surprise at the actor's decision not to marry his former sweetheart Jenny McCarthy. Carrey admitted that he had no idea how to respond if he came across someone who could altogether remove his head. Carrey cannot make specific forecasts about the future, but that he would not voluntarily travel on that path. That, in a nutshell, was the message Jim Carrey wanted to portray. And did anyone catch the closing line about how he was not going to marry again, even if the right partner appeared? There is no doubt that Jim Carrey is well known. However, if someone like him admits that he will never marry, most women do not seem to bother because he is past his prime and may be the father of most women in their 20s. Of course, this is due to his age. However, if someone like Justin Bieber declared that he was going to pursue his path, it would be terrible for a significant number of young teenage girls and would badly harm their feeling of self-worth. Remember that the grief caused by a famous guy turning down a woman impacts not only the lady he was initially attracted, but also all of the other ladies. They all take it personally because of the female collective, and if Justin Bieber rejected all women, the self-esteem of millions of young women worldwide would suffer. Furthermore, the media and marketing apparatus would certainly rush in and announce that he was gay or that he had been damaged in a relationship and harmed. I don't believe that traditional media outlets or public relations firms would ever allow someone like Justin Bieber to make his own sexual choices. Our culture attempts to persuade us that women's decision to enter and exit a relationship is primarily reserved. If he made such a decision, the media would assume he was gay. Louis Marco's announcement that he was a guy going his own way from the middle of October to the end of December, I believe, led the popularity of Midtown to climb by a factor of 2 in just those 2 short months. His two channels receive over 5 million views every month, and his primary channel channel is among the top 102 tracks in Canada regarding ideas. Everyone is waiting for an excellent star like George Clooney to come along and declare that he would never marry and will spend the rest of his life as a single person. If 3 or 4 more YouTube micro-celebrities in their prime came forth and stated they were MGTOW and stuck to their convictions, the mid-tower would become much more prominent. It would alter the current order of events. The difficulty is that sometimes men who insist on going their separate ways end up living together or marrying each other. Many of them will eventually cave in and reconcile with their partners. Nothing could be more embarrassing than a celebrity declaring their intention to go their way, only to change their mind and marry a few months or even a year later. Feminists would use this incident in the media to explain why males setting out on their own is not a viable long-term plan and why men cannot be independent. A situation like this would also be an excellent example of why it is dangerous for males to go out on their own. Many women use picking me up to comfort themselves that the male marriage strike is only temporary and that men will start paying attention to them again at any time. This gives them the courage to go out and have fun. However, if a famous male celebrity elected to have his children through surrogacy rather than marrying and having children the traditional way, it would have a significant impact on the globe since it would normalize and legitimize the practice of surrogacy. Consider that Leonardo DiCaprio decided to undergo gestational surrogacy to conceive a family. DiCaprio has never followed the mainstream and has always followed his path, dating models and actresses for decades, usually for a year or two. He appears to be following the technique of Midtown's mayor, who first establishes a primary cutoff point for each connection before moving on to the next one in his dating life. This happens before he ends his current relationships and starts dating other people. I do not doubt that Leonardo DiCaprio's career would suffer if he came clean and acknowledged that the only thing he planned to do with his life was date models and never marry. I honestly believe that after receiving all of his attention while still going through the growing pains that come with it, he concluded that going his own way was the best way to go about things. Despite this, the mainstream media has little to say about his romantic relationships. This is because the mainstream media caters to women who watch soap operas and hence prefer witnessing terrible relationships. These plays don't appear to feature any prominent actors. If they did, it would almost surely raise a scandal in the mainstream media. On the other hand, the mainstream media would almost certainly try to characterize any man who announced himself to be a member of MGTOW as gay or misogynist. As previously stated, women control the mainstream media's rumor mills. These women would go to great lengths to guarantee that women as a whole embrace the idea that men can go their way by encouraging other women to do the same. Remember that women must utterly reject any concept of agency, regardless of what most media outlets report. If the phrase Midtown became as well known as herbivore man in Japan, she would let the proverbial cat out of the bag, and the community as a whole would be able to designate many unmarried men differently. I'd like to believe that all of the latest attacks on the appellation Midtown, such as suggesting that married men can make towels, but guys forced to be alone can't, are the result of men reverting to the cultural programming they were given as children. Society celebrates a married man, yet society shames him if he is not married, because men are taught that their access to women determines their status. The community celebrates married men but shames unmarried men. MGTOW is the polar opposite of this concept in that it devalues men in committed relationships while raising the status of single men, a novel idea. People previously labeled losers in society are now receiving positive affirmation, while others who were once considered winners are being embarrassed. This is the exact opposite of what was predicted. Do you understand why married men want to be included in Midtown and why some people are outraged that some sorts of forced loneliness males are rewarded for their inability to attract and retain women in this manner? Can you see why this offends certain people? Being in a relationship has become more of a fashion statement than a status signal in recent years. As a result, guys in partnerships may sense irritation since they no longer obtain the acclaim and prestige they once had from being in relationships and are instead mocked for something that others previously regarded with pride. MGTOW are pitted against married guys or live with their spouses in a war for men's self-esteem. Are you ready to talk about a taboo topic? You may ask, what kind of taboo? Well, this time it's attraction. Specifically, how 97% of women are considered unattractive by mainstream standards might seem harsh, but we must face the truth head-on if we ever want to change things for the better. So please check my previous video as I break this down for you in more detail.